Today, we're going to talk about how to transform project delivery across your enterprise, being able to talk about demand management, project and portfolio management, resource management, as well as standard and governance when it comes to project governance, as well as performance reporting. So where we're going to start the demo is we're going to start with dashboards and analytics. And this is where we're going to take you through the full life cycle in terms of demand through to results, helping you understand the new work and intake process, how it aligns to strategic and organizational goals. And then once your teams are delivering, having a simple and easy way for us to understand our different projects, collaborate on hybrid projects across our different teams, and then gain visibility into resources as well as portfolios. So let's get started. So the first place I like to start is at a dashboard, because that's one of the quick wins we see with customers, being able to understand all those different aspects that we talked about. So here, being able to see my key portfolios, being able to see what's red, yellow, and green, as well as what's coming down the pipeline as well. And you'll notice here, we can have multiple different types of work, whether it's agile work or waterfall work or hybrid work for our digital transformation. And as I scroll over to the right, I can start to see, well, let's get a little bit more detail about what's off track and at risk. Let's look at an overall summary. And with all of our reports, you have that drill down capability as well. And as I start to think about new work coming into the pipeline, being able to see how it aligns to our strategic and organizational goals. So being able to say, hey, maybe that next thing we want to work on is that new strategic project because it has ROI impact and it has strategy alignment that we've talked about. And as new work comes in, being able to understand as you deliver on it, how are we doing? So my risks and issues of what's closed, what's off track, where do I need to escalate because it is critical. Being able to start to understand my budget and my financial health as we start to think about the entire portfolio of what we're delivering. And as I mentioned, to us, it truly doesn't matter how you're delivering. So being able to see a burn up and burn down chart, as well as being able to see a roadmap of how we're delivering across those different strategies that we talked about. This is where we want to make it simple and easy for you to come in, understand how you're doing, and drill down into that information. So let's start from the beginning of where those requests come in. This is where we can automate your demand management process. So when new work comes in, have workflow automating that process and having a way to evaluate new work in terms of the request to have that apples to apples comparison of why do we want to take on one investment versus another. You'll notice that workflow that I mentioned right here as we start to automate new demand that comes in, and all of the information that you set up on your demand and intake form completely configurable to you in terms of my description, my business case, all the key information that we might want to have. And as new work comes in, this is where we can automate the process of having the new projects that get created. So this is where I can start to see a project view of everything that I have going on. Being able to look at my different projects as we start to think about strategic alignment, priority and scoring and importance. And one of the key things we see with project managers is how can I start to get help from our AI capabilities? So this is where we have sentiment analysis inside of the solution to help you understand that watermelon effect of where things might be green on the outside, but really red on the inside as we start to drill into it. We also have an advisor and a co-pilot sitting right here to help ask and answer any questions. So helping with any of the onboarding and the change management. So how do I create a new project from a template? Or how can I start to look at what's at risk or due within the next few months? You'll notice here when I asked those questions, what project should I be worried about? It started to give me some detail about it. It started to give me key things maybe I wasn't thinking about as well. And I said, give me more detail and summary on these projects. You notice it highlights some of those critical issues, some of the timelines, concerns, and maybe even giving me some immediate recommendations that go along with it. And with one click, you'll notice I can actually compose an email for my project team as well. So being able to say, hey, let's actually send this out to my team. This is where we want to make it simple and easy for you to come in, see all those relevant details right here in terms of red, yellow, green, and being able to perform. So now that I've taken a look at my list of projects and being able to have different views for my different teams, as well as being able to ask help from my co-pilot, let's go into a project view where we can actually see my project details. So I go to a project view, the mobile application project, and this is the project hub where I can start to see all the relevant information about the project, being able to see if we're at risk or on track, being able to have discussions and collaboration for my team. And you'll notice right here, I can start to see my project at a glance, my key milestones, my red, yellow, green as we start to roll out and see how my project's performing. Also, my project at a glance is showing me financials, changes, risks, and issues, and tasks that are off track, because right now, you'll notice there's a lot sitting with Paul Projectman that's overdue. Maybe I need to have a conversation with him as we start to think about my project and what we're currently delivering. As I build out my project plan, this is where you can build out your project plan with your tasks and your subtasks. We can add in the dates. You can also add in any of the resources that are assigned to those tasks as well. So being able to build out your project plan however you want, you can have your Gantt chart. We can start to see my timelines and my milestones, and you can also baseline the project as well in terms of having multiple versions. When we create new projects, one of the key things is how can we set up those standard and governance? So this is where we can have templates so your team doesn't have to recreate the wheel each time. And the template is much more than just the milestones and the tasks. It could bring in the files, the resources, any of the notes and documents that go along with it as well. So streamlining some of that standard and governance as well. And as you heard me mention to us, it truly doesn't matter how you're working. So whether you're working in a classic fashion or you want to work in a hybrid or an agile fashion, great. We can do that as well. Because you'll notice here with my hybrid project, I can build it out in more of a Kanban-like view. I can add in any of my tasks right here on the fly to say, hey, I've got a new marketing task right here. Being able to create that right there, it's going to add it into the backlog, and then me and my team can start to move it from stage to stage or assign it out to those different team members. This is where we want to make it easy for your team to come in, collaborate, and work on all those key things as well. And you'll notice we've got whiteboards as you start to kind of work with all of your teams. And that's where for those end users, marketing, shared services, finance, my team members, their view and day in the life when they come in is this My Work page. They can see what they're working on for that hybrid project, what's overdue, what tasks are due this week, and what's coming up this month. This is where we want to make it easy for your users to come in, see what they need to be working on, and drill into all of that relevant information. And you'll notice here with one click, I can ask Planview AI for help. I can go to my customer success center, or discussions and collaboration are embedded into the solution as well. They were in the project as well as in the dashboard as we were starting to update some of this information. So now that we've taken a look at the project management and we've taken a look at how to build out collaborative, hybrid, different ways for our projects and team members to collaborate, this is where I can go to my capacity planning view to understand what my resources are working on. This is a great view for me to understand where are people overutilized, where are people underutilized, where do I need to staff the right people at the right time. So I can start to come out here and see my different teams. I can start to understand the red of where they over allocated, the green and yellow properly allocated, and then the blue where they under allocated, maybe sitting on the bench to get more work. And this is where your view completely configurable to you. Do you want to break it out by month, by quarter, by year? Do you want to look at it instead of by hours, by FTE as well? And so this is where I can drill into a team and actually see my resources of what they're working on. I can drill into Paul Projectman, who was over allocated, and what are the different projects that he's working on. And I can start to see those projects sitting right here as we go through. The great part about the view, as I mentioned, is it is configurable to you. So if I decide I don't want to look at it by resources, I want to look at it by job titles and roles, great. I can start to see all those projects underneath that are sitting for my project managers or developers or business analysts as well. And when I start to see all the work coming down the pipeline, I can not only see what people are working on, but where are requests coming in. So if I go to security and I go to say, well, let's look at all the requests that are coming in for an engineer, a process automation engagement that we need to take a look at, I can actually approve it. I can review and assign to say, maybe we need to find the right resource at the right time in terms of being able to staff Danielle Directo as the engineer and add and apply it to the project right here. This is where this resource management view helps you balance what are we working on as well as what's coming down the pipeline. And that's where it goes hand in hand with the portfolio. So when I go to look at a specific portfolio, my IT systems portfolio like we saw on the dashboard, this is where I can see that view of what are we working on as we start to think about different departments and different personal views people would want. And you'll notice this isn't just a project that is a collection of projects, but it's its own entity where we can look at funding and budgeting and allocation. We can also see all of the objectives and relating it to the requests that are coming down the pipeline. And you'll notice here I can see the portfolio at a glance. So here are all the projects sitting in that portfolio. What are the projects that are off track and at risk? How are we doing from a funding perspective? So I come to the homepage and it gives me visibility into everything that's going on within that portfolio. And the great part is that when I scroll down to see the list of projects in the portfolio, a project can be associated with one portfolio or multiple portfolios as well. So that's a great way for me to see everything that's in product or digital transformation or R&D or project management as a whole. And one of our customers' favorite features is with one click, I can actually export this out to a PowerPoint slide and publish my portfolio slides. So that way I don't have to recreate the wheel every single time I need to create a portfolio status report. I have a one-click access into building that report for me. So it's a PowerPoint add-in for this portfolio status. It gives you a report, it gives you my roadmap, and it gives me a one-pager on each project in the portfolio so you don't have to recreate the wheel. This is where we've saved customers hundreds of hours in terms of reporting because you can set up your templates with your coloring, your logo, and build out the PowerPoints with one click as you start to build this out. So this is where we make it easy for being able to set that standard and governance, but also being able to share these views, knowing we're gonna send this out to our team every single Friday. It sets that standard and governance of what you are going to be reporting on across the portfolio. So now that we've talked about being able to see new work that comes in, the dashboards and reportings in the portfolio, this is where you get that holistic view across everything that we had talked about, everything that we had started to build out across my entire portfolio. So I wanted to thank you for joining us for the project management demo. Please reach out if you do have any questions. Thank you.